We're headed into the last weekend of campaigning for both Republicans and Democrats in New Hampshire before the New Hampshire primary on Tuesday night. Let's look first at how things are looking for the Republicans in New Hampshire. According to a Real Clear Politics average of recent polls, Donald Trump is still in the lead at 32.8%. Far behind are Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz at just under 12% each, respectively. Donald Trump up about 20 points over each of them, followed by none other than John Kasich with 11%, Jeb Bush at 9.3%, and Chris Christie at 6.3%. So interesting thing about this, Lewis, number one, Christie, Kasich, and Bush are doing noticeably better in New Hampshire polling than they did in Iowa. That's number one. The obvious question is, will that translate to actual votes? Or is this one of those things that is not going to be reflected? I don't know. I think that Bush certainly will do better in New Hampshire than he did in Iowa. The others, I guess we'll see. Polling would suggest that they will.
Yeah. But the most interesting thing is Cruz doing noticeably worse.
Yes, right. Yeah. Relative to Donald Trump, Ted Cruz is doing noticeably worse. So we will see. It appears as though it will remain a three-man race with Trump, Cruz, and Rubio, not necessarily in that order in New Hampshire. But the question of whether they will over or underperform the polls is also an interesting one. In Iowa earlier this week, we saw that while Donald Trump came in second, he was the only one of the top three candidates to underperform what the polling said on the way in. And this was related to his total lack of a ground operation in Iowa. So we're going to see what happens there. That should be interesting. Now, in New Hampshire, on the Democratic side, let's take a look at how things are looking there. The Real Clear Politics average of recent polls in the Democratic New Hampshire primary has Bernie Sanders at 54.6% and Hillary Clinton at 38.8%. That is nearly a 16-point lead for Bernie Sanders. So, Lewis, will Hillary close the gap here? Some people on the ground in New Hampshire that I've been talking to say that she has the stronger ground game and the stronger get out the vote campaign in New Hampshire, so that it is unlikely that Bernie Sanders will win by 16. Likely he will win, just not by 16. What's your sense?
I guess I would agree with that. Likely that he will win. I don't really know much about her infrastructure in New Hampshire, but I'll be rooting for Bernie. Well, what more can we say? Bernie's had the lead the whole time there. I think it's pretty clear that he's going to win.
Well, it's funny because both of them are playing up that they're underdogs. Bernie Sanders says, look, whatever the polls say, Hillary Clinton has a long, long history in New Hampshire. The Clinton family is very much loved liked to some extent, in New England, in Massachusetts, in Vermont, in Maine, in New Hampshire, etc. And so that is like sort of a default advantage for Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is saying, hey, Bernie Sanders is way ahead in the polls. I'm playing from behind. I'm the underdog here. It's interesting how they both have an interest in saying they're the underdog. That's just managing expectations, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. And then let's not mess around here. Bernie Sanders ultimately is the underdog. Right.
Yeah, broadly speaking, obviously.
He's running against the Clinton machine.
He tied in Iowa after being down nearly 30 points a few months ago. There's no question that he's running a campaign from behind. So that's Tuesday. That's New Hampshire on the Republican side and on the Democratic side.